It does nothing but make life harder. A lot of times when people follow a particular tradition, and I'll give you an example closer to home. I'm from Pakistan originally, and this is a problem in Pakistan, I'll tell you. We have to have the most lavish kinds of weddings. We have the most exotic, the most over-the-top, super expensive kinds of weddings. Even if the family can't afford it. Even if they can't afford it, they have to have that kind of wedding. And if you ask the family, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself in thousands of dollars of credit card debt? Why are you doing that? They say, well, your cousin had a wedding like that. What are we going to show? How are we going to show our face to your uncle? Or this friend of yours got married. They had a big wedding. How are we going to just have a nikah at the masjid? What are you, crazy? We have to show our face in society. It's not because the deen says you should go over the top. It's what? Society. Society. And so they'll put themselves in all kinds of financial trouble. And imagine a young man and woman who are just getting married, and it'll be lucky if they're young, because if they're from the countries we come from, they don't let them get them married until they're like 30 or something. But if they are young and they get married, they're just starting out, and they start their life with debt. They start their married life with this huge burden on them because of this insane party that no one remembers 3 days later. For nothing else. Just to fulfill a societal urge, this pressure that somebody felt. No other reason. What are people going to say? In Urdu they say, log kya kahenge? Right? What are people going to say if we don't do this? So much concern about what people might say. And it leads you into your deeper troubles for yourself. On the other hand, Allah says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَن يُخَفِّفَ عَنْكُمْ. Allah just wants to lighten your burden. Allah wants to take the load off of you. That's what the deen is supposed to be. And you'll find people that are enslaved to their culture. They're enslaved to their societal pressure. When they talk about Islam, they say Islam is tough. Islam is too strict. That's exactly what these people say. Islam is too strict. And what's funny is, if they followed even small principles of the deen, their life would be a lot easier. The deen would make their life easier, not harder. And what they're trying to follow only lands them in deeper and deeper and deeper trouble. That's what it lands them into. But they don't realize it. A messenger comes to remove these burdens. But there's another meaning of these burdens also in these chains. You know, when we follow a certain way in our life, our children learn from us. Just like our parents learn from their parents. And it's passed down. So when we stand in front of Allah on Judgment Day and we have generations of people who disobeyed Allah because of societal pressure, we're chained to them. We're tied to them. Their burden is our burden because we set that trend. We set that precedent for them. We have to answer for what they've done also. They have to answer for themselves, and we on top of that. SubhanAllah. It's a serious problem. This is why Ibrahim alayhi salam, as an intelligent father, makes the dua, وَجْعَلْنَا, or actually we are taught to make the dua, وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Right? Make us imam over al-muttaqeen in Surah Al-Furqan. Because on Judgment Day, we don't want to be tied to people that went down the wrong path. They're going to drag us down with them. Now I want to take you to the ayat that this khutbah is actually about. This is from Surah Al-Baqarah. And in Surah Al-Baqarah, towards the second half of this surah, one of the main conversations is what people follow. What people follow. Who they end up following. And why they follow who they follow. Now this particular passage that I chose has to do with the Day of Judgment. And on Judgment Day, everybody stands up, and I want you to think of it this way. There are trend setters, and there are trend followers. You followed someone when you did something. You dressed a certain way, you walked a certain walk, you talked a certain talk, you bought a certain kind of car, you moved to a certain kind of neighborhood, you hung out with a certain kind of posse. These were your trend setters. You were around them. Most of what you did was influenced by them. These are your trend setters. This ayah is about them. These trendsetters. These are the people that people like to follow. إِذْ تَبَرَّأَ الَّذِينَ تُبِعُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا. When those who used to be followed, these are trendsetters. When they will be cutting themselves off, disassociating themselves from all those who used to follow them. So here you are, you made your life miserable trying to be like someone, trying to fit in with a certain crowd, worried about what they're going to think of you, how acceptable you'll be to them. Judgment Day comes around, and the first thing these trendsetters do, these leaders do is they say, I have nothing to do with you. Why are you trying to be like me? I want nothing to do with you. تَبَرَّأَ الَّذِينَ تُبِعُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا. I got nothing to do with you. And you'll be like, wait, you're the one who told me don't rent an apartment, go get into a house. You're the one who said you have to be smart, go get into a mortgage. Don't worry about halal, haram, just do it. And I listened to you and everybody around you. You guys are the ones who got me into this. You're the one who told me this is a good business idea. Yeah, it's got liquor too, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. Ramadan's around the corner. You can make extra salawat. You'll be alright. It'll clean it all up. Don't worry about it. It's a good business, I'm telling you. A lot of money in it. And I went into this business because I listened to you. I got into it because of you. You have certain circles in the Muslim community. I won't even talk about outside Muslim community. That's inside Muslim community. You have certain circles. You have the business circle. You have the professional circles. You have the physician circles. And in each circle there are certain standards, right? There are certain kinds of parties they like to throw. Or there are certain kinds of gatherings they like to have. And each one tries to outdo the other to keep up with the circle. They make each other, they feed each other in their wrongdoing. And now they're cutting off from each other on Judgment Day. I want nothing to do with you. All that stuff you did is your problem, not my problem. إِذْ تَبَرَّأَ الَّذِينَ تُبِعُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا وَرَأَوُا الْعَذَابِ. They will all be, Allah makes the jam'a which combines everybody. The followers and the leaders are all looking at the punishment. وَتَقَطَّعَتْ بِهِمُ الْأَسْبَابِ. And all relationships at that point are cut. You don't care about no society, what nobody else thinks then, it's all gone. All zero. All of that stuff that we were so worried about here, completely erased. And now the people who mindlessly followed. And before I talk about mindlessly following, I have to interject. On our flight here from Dallas, I flew with my family to California maybe about 10 days ago. So all the kids were asleep. And so my wife and I were the only ones awake. And you know how they dropped the TV screen? So thankfully the children were all asleep. So we're the only ones, even if you don't want to, it's right in your face, the TV screen, right? And we don't have headphones, so it's a silent film for us. You know what it was? It was the Justin Bieber documentary. So we watched the Justin Bieber it was torture. It was like an hour and a half of Justin Bieber in your face. But wallahi, it was an educational experience. Every 2 minutes I just look at my wife and go, because you see him walk by and these girls are crying. And they're screaming. And their parents are so happy that he got to touch their daughters. This is how enslaved these people get. This is how crazy they get. This is ridiculous. Girls wearing his face on their book bags, on their shirts. And it was mind-boggling to me how that can be. And what's that going to look like on Judgment Day? I got nothing to do with my fans. I want nothing to do with you. وَتَقَطَّعَتْ بِهِمُ الْأَسْبَابِ. And at that point, all of the followers, what are they going to say? وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا. And those who used to follow, they're going to be saying, لَوْ أَنَّ لَنَا كَرَّةً لَنَتَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُمْ كَمَا تَبَرَّأُوا مِنَّا. If we only had another chance, we would cut ourselves off from them like they're cutting themselves off from us now. They're saying this on Judgment Day and they're crying, they're saying if we only had a chance. Do they get a chance? No. Do you and I have a chance? Yes. That's why the ayah is telling us this. Don't wait till the point where you regret it. Be that now. And for a moment I want to talk to the parents here. When we bought our children Disney gear, when we buy our children, we let them watch whatever they want to watch on TV, or it's just cartoons. It ain't just cartoons anymore, let me tell you. It ain't just cartoons anymore. They put a lot of stuff in there. Right? And I used to teach at an Islamic school back in the day, and these little girls would have Hannah Montana book bags coming to Islamic school. Right? They've got these girls book, and they're fans of them, and they watch all the shows and stuff. And when these same girls that are on Disney or whatever, Nickelodeon or whatever, when they're teenagers, when they're 20, when they're 19, they're half naked, and now what are you going to do? How are you going to explain that to your children? You allowed them to be trend followers. You did that. I did that. We have to be cautious. What are we allowing our children to become? Before you know it, they'll be out of your control. They'll be enslaved to that culture. Some of you are experiencing that now. Some of your children are teenagers and you don't even recognize them. Like, what happened to you? Why are you dressed like that? What are you doing with your hair? What is that? You won't know, but it's a trend. And they're just following. That's all they're doing. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا لَوْ أَنَّ لَنَا كَرَّةً فَنَتَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُمْ كَمَا تَبَرَّأُوا مِنَّا كَذَلِكَ يُرِيهِمُ اللَّهُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ حَسَرَاتٍ عَلَيْهِمْ وَمَا هُمْ بِخَارِجِينَ مِنَ النَّارِ. That is how Allah shows them all of their deeds. So they can not just hasratan alayhim, it's unique. Allah says hasaratin alayhim. Regret on top of regret on top of regret falling over them. There's, punishment itself is bad, but regret is a form of punishment itself. When you regret something, when regret really overtakes you, it's a kind of torture itself. Allah says it will be coming on them over and over and over again. Why didn't I listen? Why didn't I change myself? How did I allow myself to be like this? And they won't be coming out of the fire. وَمَا هُمْ بِخَارِجِينَ مِنَ النَّارِ اللَّهُمَّ لَا تَجْعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ. Right after this ayah, Allah Azza wa Jal gives us a commandment about consuming halal. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُلُوا مِمَّا فِي الْأَرْضِ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. It's really interesting, because most of the time when we follow trends, what do we leave? We leave the halal. We leave the permissible, and we pursue the impermissible. So Allah reminds us, look, don't fall into those trends. Don't fall into that pressure. Consume that which is halal, what is good and pure. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. And here we are thinking we're following footsteps of society, and Allah is telling us, no, that was just a shallow cover. The reality of it was, these were footsteps of shaitan. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. And then the last thing. What does shaitan do? What are the two things that he will get you to commit? إِنَّمَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالسُّوءِ وَالْفَحْشَاءِ وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. He'll command you to evil. He'll command you to shamelessness. And to say things about Allah you have no idea of. I want to explain that briefly and this khutbah is done. When people want to follow whatever it is they want to follow, and they don't want to hear about the deen. Islam is too strict. I don't know, I go to Jum'ah and stuff, but that's already more than enough. I'm doing Allah a favor by being on Jum'ah, showing up. I don't even need to be here on time. If I just show up before they start praying or before they say salam, that's enough for me. Last in, first out. Right? That's the majority of the congregation usually. If you're that person, then listen to this. Then just listen for a moment. If you think you're doing Allah's deen a favor, and what you really need to live your life for has already been defined for you by your culture, by outsiders, by what everybody else follows, then you're not free at all. You're not free at all. You're a slave. The only ones that are truly free are Allah's slaves. They don't feel the need to be like everybody else. They don't feel the need to spend their money in places that are useless, that are a waste. They see above that. They're mature.